started playing music, especially when I started playing jazz, I remember being so like obsessed with the theory of stuff. Like, oh yeah, that's a major 7 sharp 11, and yeah, that guy played that chord and it invoked the major 7. Stop thinking about music theory all you do. It's not like when you hear someone that you really like that they're thinking about, yeah, I'm gonna invoke the sharp 11 in this chord. It's not about music theory. It's never been about music theory. When you started playing music, it was never about music theory. When you started playing music, you played because you felt a connection to the music, and that is why we play. It is spiritual. Stop talking about chords and like, yeah, he played the flat 2 major, and yeah, he played the sharp 11. You obsess so much about what people play, what you play, and you kind of degrade everything into what chord quality they invoked. Like, do you realize how pathetic that is? You have to stop doing that. You have to realize it's spiritual because it's connected to something higher that you want to express from the bottom of your heart. So stop degrading yourself. Like, I'm on your side here, okay? When you keep talking about people soloing and yeah, that's a flat 2 major, yeah. But Armin, you need music theory. It's so important to play jazz. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be aware of music theory because it is literally something that we really need to know to be able to understand stuff and to be able to make sense of it. Literally, I hate when people talk about music theory as an escape. That was like the sharp 11. Oh, can you hear how he played the sharp 11? If you talk about chord qualities when other people play, like, oh yeah, that guy played in sharp 11. That's why it sounded like I really like to use the sharp 11 because it makes the Lydian. Like, if you do that, I'm convinced that you're not good at playing. If you talk like that, then I'm convinced you're not spiritually connected to the music. Like, of course, John Coltrane didn't go around talking about like, yeah, he played the major 7 sharp 11. No, he studied that shit by himself. And then he went out and he expressed it in himself. John Coltrane was he was a spiritual guy. The music he played was spiritual. The notes he played came from a spiritual place. It doesn't mean he wasn't aware of music theory. Like, he was so aware of music theory. He studied it, but he didn't go around talking about like, yeah, that guy played a sharp 11. Yeah, that major 7. Yeah, the flat 2 major. Yeah, It's important to be a nerd also. I'm not saying you shouldn't be interested. I'm not saying you shouldn't be a nerd, because being a nerd is one of the most beautiful things we can be. You have to be aware that most people use music theory as an escape from the divine, the escape from the spiritual. Most people use it as an escape because they're not comfortable with the spiritual essence in their own playing. Like, they're not comfortable knowing that music and improvisation is this spiritual thing, and that makes people like, wait, how can it sound good? Like, oh wait, why did that work? Like, I have to analyze it because why did that work? So you have to realize that it's spiritual. Like when John Coltrane played with Miles Davis and like he did this like avant-garde stuff, there are people out there like, yeah, I analyzed it and actually he plays. Like, come on, like it's not like he thought about that. Like, when you analyze that, that's like escape. Like, you have to realize, yeah, that shit was spiritual. It came from an inner, instead of thinking about like analyzing what he did, try to see what inspired him to do that. What inspired him, his mechanism into expressing himself like that. It's never been about the notes. It's never been about the theory. It's always been about the spirituality. The best musicians you look up to, I'm confident that they're spiritual. I'm confident that they have a spiritual essence in their playing. I'm confident that they're not going around like being just obsessed with the theory about stuff. If you obsess about it too much, you know what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen is you're never gonna reach that spirituality in your own playing because you're too obsessed with the real world stuff. Music theory is real world stuff. It's what the real world has taught us because we had to make sense of all the notes. We had to make sense about why does that sound good. We had to make sense of all that. It's the real world stuff. That's not what that's not what's gonna make you a good musician. It's a pillar, absolutely. You need music theory. What's gonna make you a developed musician that actually plays stuff that the audience can feel, that the audience can relate to, that's being spiritual. When you listen to musicians, you're like, I don't know what it is. It's just so good. It's because it's spiritual. You're connecting with it. That guy doesn't go around being like, yeah, I'm thinking about playing the sharp 11. He's not obsessing over music theory. Music theory is there. It's the real world. The real world taught us music theory. Music, the spiritual essence of music has always been there. It's always been there. Music theory someone came up with, okay? Someone actually made sense of all that shit. When you just obsess over how stuff works and like the theory behind stuff, then you're just too afraid. You're too afraid of the actual spirituality in it. You're too afraid of realizing that it's so much more. Stop degrading music. Stop degrading yourself. You will never become the musician you want to be if you're escaping from the spirituality, the spiritual essence. And how you do that? Become more aware. Obsessing over music theory is like obsessing over statistics. It's so far away from the spirituality. And something that I really don't like is when music is unspiritual. When I hear someone playing, you can hear them almost like their anxiety in their own playing, because they're like playing in a way that's like, yeah, I'm kind of scared of the divine. I'm kind of scared of being myself. So I'm gonna play the major 7. I hate that. I'm not hating on that person because I'm on that person's side. If you're that guy, I'm on your side. You're the guy that I wanna help. It makes me sad. It makes me. You have to get out of yourself. You have to realize that it's part of something. Like you have to realize that music is so much more. It's the changing. You can learn stuff and then you can connect with it. That's what people will like about your playing, when you're actually telling something that comes from this inner place. It's to become more aware of your thoughts. It's to be more authentic to yourself. It's to start meditating. Chase the spiritual connection. When you get spiritually connected to the music, you will play so much better. You will also be more fulfilled. Being spiritually connected to the music means you're authentic to yourself. You're being yourself. You're not in yourself. You're not thinking about yourself as, what am I gonna play next? You're giving your gift of music to the people around you, and you get spiritually connected. That's what you should strive for. You will never become fulfilled with music if you're not authentic to who you are. Start meditating. Start becoming aware of your thoughts. Start practicing the stuff that you have connection to. Stop thinking about everything as how that works in terms of the theoretical. When you go to a concert, stop thinking about the theory. Think about the spirituality. Think about how that person improvised and like, what did that guy dial into? You know, it's almost tough for me to explain because it's not explainable. It's so much bigger. It's part of this existence which we cannot describe in words. We want to describe it. We want to like realize what stuff is. But music, improvisation, it's not explainable. If you want to play music that people are like, wow, then you can't be a guy that just tries to explain everything. It's part of something more divine. It's part of something so much bigger than you can ever understand. You have to have deep thoughts about music. You have to be spiritual. It's not going to work otherwise. It's not going to be something that anybody feels connected to. If you don't embrace the unknowingness, the weirdness of it all. And this comes with time too. If you're a beginner right now, I'm not saying you should just go be spiritual and don't practice. Like, you still have to practice. But even practicing should be a spiritual connected thing you do. Because that's all we want to invoke in people. Giving our gift is like telling a story that's unexplainable. Because it comes from a deep place inside of us. It's never been about the note. It's never been, yeah, I heard you play the major 7. That was so not. It's never been about that. That's an escape. Talking of that's an escape. It's never been about that. It's always been about the spirituality inside of us, invoking, pouring our hearts out, expressing our deepest feelings. And you can only do that by being vulnerable. You can only do that by being authentic to who you are. I hope that made sense. And I hope I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.